I'm interested in Joe Seifert. So Joe was a guy that lived right next door to me when I was growing up. His mother died of cancer, and but we stayed pretty close, and then he moved right when his mom died. So he was a real dear friend when I was young, and that would have been 10 or maybe 8 or 10 years old.
No.
Okay, so in the mid-60s, Sunhaven was a new tract development on the outskirts of Helena, separated from town by the railroad and an expanse of vacant fields. The homes were prefab, which meant they were dropped by semi-trucks in huge packages of ready-to-build trusses, studs, other lumber wrapped in tar paper. I remember when I was 6 or 7, my parents asked me who that boy was out there behind their house, throwing his pocket knife in one of those packages. I didn't know. They said I should go introduce myself, and that's how Ren and I met. There were lots of kids of all ages in Sunhaven, but it was really something that the kid who moved in right next door to me on Meadow Drive was nearly exactly my age. Our birthdays were only a week apart. I'd forgotten that. Our side yards joined, and that's where the neighborhood played football or hide and seek or something, had their fights on and on, which gratefully never led to injury, and always to making up and getting on each other's side. It is impossible to conceive a place better suited for a young boy than where we lived. We could ride our bikes into town, but there were rarely any reasons. There were acres of open fields where we could shoot our BB guns. All around there was construction underway and huge piles of excavated dirt in which to dig caves, create encampments for plastic army men, I forgot we did that, and jump our bikes. We were playing in the street when Mrs. Waters came out the front door and hollered to Ren that his dad had just bought a horse. What a life-changing experience. That was Blaze, and he was broad-shouldered, palomino gilded. They boarded about a mile down the dirt road from where we lived. In addition to sheds, corrals, cattail swamps, and caretakers' homes in which old Mr. Luce resided, there was an accident. There was an H in Verdant, a Jewish cemetery surrounded by monolithic cottonwoods. Ren built a tree house above the pen where Blaze was kept, and day after summer day, we'd stuff our pockets with molasses cakes for the horse and walk down the dirt road to a magical wild place. It seemed there were never any adults, just horses, chickens, and thousands of different boys, and thousands of different things boys could discover or figure out sitting in a tree several feet above the ground. Anyways, further was the county fairgrounds with more horses and barns and playgrounds surrounded by more massive trees, which we'd sometimes climb and raid for magpie nests. Fairgrounds also had a pond and a swamp. We dug for snakes in tailings next to the water and waded the swamp to catch frogs. These were productive enterprises. We carried many snakes home from the fairgrounds to honor my sister, and once carried a bucket of 46 frogs we caught in a swamp. Ren kept that bucket in his garage, and I'm certain his parents were finding descendants, dehydrated frogs, carcasses, and such all over, and all other kinds of unexpected spots for years after that. On summer nights, we'd catch grasshoppers in the fields or night crawlers in our lawns for bait, then sleep out in the side yard, get up early with the sun, and ride our bikes to the fairgrounds to fish the pond. In the early morning, When the water was like glass, we could see our bobbers moving across the surface when a fish was on the line. Seeing that never got old. I caught my first fish and many more with Ren from that pond, and we'd take them home and cook them on the barbecue. Ren and I were best friends growing up, but kinda lost track of each other when my family moved out of Sun Haven and we started high school. However, we stayed in touch frequently, enough to skip school together now and then. We haven't talked about that. We'd go somewhere to shoot our guns, and the next day, girls Ren knew would write us notes to please excuse our absences. It was always the same girls though, so the handwriting would be identical if the school staff ever compared the notes. Our childhood was fishing, swamps, baby birds, Ren's horse, BB guns, and the smell of Russian olive blossoms in July, our birthday month. It was exploring dredge tailings in a place we called Secret Land. It was a unique and ambiguous call of the western meadowlark in the fields, serenading us as we walked to baseball practice. And I wish to be careful to acknowledge it was Ren's mom who somehow orchestrated these activities without ever limiting our experience. At least that's what it felt like. When my mom died, she treated me as a son, and I will never forget her, or her son Ren, and his dog Muffin. Ren, I wish you the best 60th birthday ever.
That's sweet.